Hey there, everybody. So the purpose of this video is to get us some solutions to this little homework on rounding. I was so excited to have somebody ask about rounding. It presented a really nice opportunity to talk about how we round and why we round the way we do. So a little bit of chit-chatting here, and we're just talking about, the rules we use to round. We'll come back to that momentarily. So the question is, why is this called rounding down? So what we're going to do, and you've read all this, is we're going to subtract the rounded value from the original unrounded value. So here's the unrounded value, and then here's the rounded value. Okay, so here's the actual number that we're going to be subtracting down here. Now let me see if I'm going to do this kind of ghetto, because that's my middle name. Okay, copy. Paste it over here. All right, so there's the subtraction problem we have to do. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to throw some zeros in here. It's going to be so ghetto, I apologize. 0, 0, 0, 0. Because those are placeholder zeros, as we talked about in class. There's nothing there, which means there's 0 there. So I'm going to subtract now. Now you're going to subtract just like you did way back in the day, except minding that decimal point right there. Okay, put the 0 there for a placeholder as well. So 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 minus 0 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. 3 minus 0 is 3. And 5 minus 0 is 0. So you're off by 3,125 hundred-thousandths, or as you probably will say, 0.03125. Okay, so you're off by that much. That is the difference between the rounded value and the original value. Okay, let's go back to the quiz. This is important now. The number that you just got tells you how much bigger the original value of your decimal is than the rounded value. Since this one is bigger than this one, that means this is rounded down. Okay? You didn't have to change that digit at all. That's still a 5. But the resulting bit is less because all this stuff that was up here is now gone. You've lost that, which means it's less. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's go ahead and fix this. Okay, so now we're going to round up now. And they did the exact same thing, except now we're going to do it with... There we go. Now you might notice, you might have noticed this, you might not have, that with this one, I'm taking the rounded value on the top, subtracting the original number. And there's a reason for that. That's because I know this one up here is larger. Now we're going to show you why it's larger. I'm going to once again throw my zeros in here. Why can't I get a 0? I'm setting the text. Oh no, not text, draw. 0, 0. Okay, so once again, 0, decimal point. But the challenge here is we have to borrow because we can't subtract 5 from 0. Old subtraction rules. Same thing here. So this one, actually, we're going to have to borrow some over here and make this puppy dog a 10. But remember, we're owed over here, which means that's going to become a 9, which means this one becomes a 10. Excuse me, I wrote the wrong thing there, 10. So you got 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. 0. 25 thousandths, or 0.025. Now, realize your rounded value is therefore 0.025 bigger than your original number. That means when you rounded up. When we subtracted the original number from the rounded value in the last one, boom, we got a value that tells us how much bigger the rounded value is than the original number. Therefore, we say we rounded the original value up. The original value is bigger, or the rounded value is bigger, which means we rounded up. Okay. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to look at. It's the idea of, since, dropping a decimal down, the confusion really existed with rounding down correctly versus incorrectly. I wanted to talk to you about which one of these is actually closer to the value of 1/3. So what you had to do was subtract these from 1/3 to see which one is closer. So I put it, instead of doing this with paint, because that's pretty ghetto, I'm just going to actually do it here. 1/3 minus 0.333. There's the difference if I take away the correctly rounded down value of 0.333 from 1/3. What happens if I take 0.332 away from 1/3? Notice 0.332 is different by this much. Hopefully that makes sense. So what you've done is you've gotten, let's look back at 333. Okay, count the zeros. 3 zeros. 0.332, count the zeros. 2 zeros. That means this number is bigger than this number. That means the difference here is bigger than the difference here, which means that 0.333, back to this one, 0.333 is closer to 1/3 than 0.332. And that's the idea of rounding. It's not just a procedure, it's also a sensible procedure because it gets us as close to the value with the rule as it can. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll see you in class.